My husband, male 32, started working a new job recently, and he must wake up 2 hours earlier than me. He complains about me not being awake to make breakfast for him. When I suggested he do it himself, he said he couldn't find the time and had no experience in cooking. He begged me to wake up with him and make him breakfast, but I refused. I work a highly demanding job, plus 4 months pregnant, and I need all the sleep I can get. He tried everything from begging to demanding, even using outside support, aka his mom, to pressure me into caving in, but I still put my foot down on this. In the past few days, I noticed a pattern of him making up emergencies to wake me up and then have me make breakfast, since I'm awake anyway. It happened twice. The third time was yesterday. I was asleep, and he woke me up screaming that there was a fire in the kitchen. I instantly jumped up from the bed and started running around like crazy. I checked the kitchen and there was no fire. He came in laughing, saying he just did this trick to have me right where he wanted me, and that's the kitchen. I was shocked, especially when he so casually told me to start preparing his breakfast. I felt so awful I let loose on him. I went off on him like I never did before, leaving him standing there staring in shock. I went back to bed, and he came after me, saying that I was controlling and selfish to deny him food and then yell at him for it. I ignored him, and he left for work but didn't call or text. His mom did though, and she had nothing nice to say. As a matter of fact, she said with this attitude, she won't be surprised when she hears that I'm yelling at her grandchild for wanting to eat. She then listed all my duties, which included making breakfast for my hard-working husband and not raising my voice with him, much less going off on him. My husband resumed the silent treatment after coming home, implying I hurt his feelings. Am I the idiot for my reaction? Did I overreact? So if his constant fake emergencies put you and your child at risk, he doesn't care? That sort of acute stress on you that your house will burn down and you can die is fun for him? Not the idiot, but maybe you want to talk to your family and friends about this and see if you wish to stay married to someone who cares about you so little. Of course, after you have the kid, he's probably not going to lift a finger to help you, since that's the woman's job. He's a grown man who can make his breakfast or grab a granola bar as a snack. If anything, he should be making you breakfast because you're pregnant right now. So the next time he wakes you up over an emergency, immediately dial 911 in front of him and tell the police that you're pregnant. Your husband has accidentally caused the emergency that he woke you up over. Then let him deal with the police. Your husband is acting like Peter from Peter and the Wolf. If he's going to be making up stories like this, don't believe him until he's given you evidence that he needs to be believed. He told his mommy on you? He's lying to his pregnant wife to make her get up entirely too early, and when you call him out, he tells his mommy that you hurt his feelings? Let me guess, he was always mommy's special boy and hoped to find a wife someday who would be a replacement mom. I'm guessing mother-in-law never taught him to cook, because that was clearly women's work, but if he can't heat up a packet of instant oatmeal, he's not competent enough to raise a child or be married. So get rid of him before the baby arrives, or you're going to have 2 infants to care for. I, 19 female, lost my dad when I was 6. He and my mom didn't have the best marriage, so she was dating 6 months after he died and met her current husband 11 months after his passing. She introduced him to me right away, and she did ask me how I felt and wanted to know how I was doing, but nothing I said really made a difference to the pace of their relationship. They started having babies immediately and had 6 children together, ranging from tween to toddler. The biggest problem here is with the 3 oldest kids. They're kids, so again, I could be a huge idiot for this, but here goes. Around 3 years ago, the 3 half-siblings I mentioned started telling me to call their dad, Dad. That's what it started with. He's not Jim, he's Dad, kind of thing. I explained to them that he was their dad, but not my dad, and I showed them photos of my dad. After a while of that, they told me it was mean not to let him be my dad though, since he was the best one, and he wanted to be my dad too. I told them that didn't change who my dad was. I asked them how they would feel if he died, and Mom brought home a new dad. They told me that wouldn't happen, that was wrong, and different, and all sorts of stuff. I had brought it up to my mom and their dad. Mom told me she talked to them a few times, but they continued coming to me. When we had a virtual graduation party for me last year, my then tween half-sister, now 1 year older, corrected me in front of everyone for saying how I was sad that Dad had missed this part of my life. She told me he didn't miss it. He was right here. My mom tried to quiet her, but she shut me down a second time. Other stuff has happened in between, and then 2 months ago, I was briefly home for a week, and during that time they were going crazy on correcting me. They even had the younger ones copying them, and then they told me that they were glad my dad was dead, and that he wasn't important. He was dumb. I was dumb for missing him and not adopting their dad. Some of what they said felt very mature and like something someone else had said, but then they just kept repeating over and over that they were glad my dad was dead and it made them happy. I used to call home to talk to them a few times a month, and now I haven't, and my mom called to get to me, but I told her I won't talk to them until I get a real apology and until their behavior changes. She told me I needed to be an understanding adult about this. I told her no. I told her the fastest way for me to never have anything to do with them again is to hear over a long period that they're glad my dad is dead and that my dad doesn't matter. She told me that would be extreme. I told her I don't love them more than my dad, and hearing them talk like that about him would fracture our relationship beyond repair. I told her 3 years of dealing with this stuff for it to worsen is too much. She and her husband called me out for being wrong about this. So I'm here to ask, am I the idiot? Oh wow, I'm sorry you're dealing with this. They might be kids, but they're old enough to know it's not right to tell someone you're glad their dad is dead. That's mean and nasty and hurtful. Not the idiot OP, but your mom and Jeff sure are for not ripping this in the bud when it started. Saying they're just kids only means they'll grow up thinking this harassing and bullying behavior is okay. You're doing the right thing by limiting contact. Likely because at least Jim is behind this, and either the mother knows it has done nothing, or she's behind it. The kids didn't come to this conclusion on their own. While kids are a lot more switched on than we often give them credit for, this is straight up manipulation from a parent. Given her mother's trying to get OP to be a doormat under the guise of being an adult, she's trying to manipulate OP so the mother can go back to getting what she wants and ignoring OP's emotional needs. All frankly points to the mother being as guilty as Jeff. Agree. Your half-siblings seem to be repeating what they hear around their house. Your mother and stepfather, in my opinion, feed into their behavior and treat it as acceptable. Your feelings and thoughts about this whole situation are validated. Do you have all of his pictures or other memorabilia that you'd like to keep? It wouldn't surprise me if someone destroyed them. I'm typing this at the airport before my flight starts boarding. I'm in college. I've been dating Steve for a year. Steve is from a rural town in Ohio where nothing ever happens. He's been begging me to come out to see him over the summer. I considered it until I discovered my 2 best friends would visit their boyfriends in Europe, exchange students. I was not about to waste 2 weeks in stupid Ohio while they were hiking in the Alps with their boyfriends. So I decided screw it, and now I'm waiting to board a flight to Denver for 6 weeks of hiking and camping across 4 states. Steve has been blowing up my phone and begging me to reconsider. He wants to introduce me to his family and check out life in Ohio for when we graduate next year. I told him no and hung up when he called me jealous for blowing off Ohio because my friends would have a more excellent summer break than me. I asked if I'm the idiot because my friends were with me when he last called. While we are sick of Steve's crap, they think I may have been harsh when I blew up at him for bugging me about his stupid summer plans. It's not just a vacation. He wants to introduce me to his parents, and he wants a life with me in Ducking, Ohio. Am I the idiot? While we are sick of Steve's crap. We? LMFAO, is this serious? Do Steve a favor and break up with him. You are the idiot, OP. Imagine if this were the other way around. You want to bring Steve home to meet your family and see your life, where you might grow together, and then he tells you how annoying your request is, and that since his friends are going yachting in the Mediterranean, he will catch a cruise to the Caribbean instead. Sayonara, sister. His friends are sick of your crap, so they're listening in on your calls as he berates you and tells you what a crap idea you had. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy, doesn't it? You would be devastated and tell everyone you've ever met what an idiot he was for it. Except for this time, you're the massive idiot. Just break up with him. Although, I would much prefer he find this and break up with you. You deserve that. This. I want to know what crap poor Steve has done. He's foolish enough not to see she isn't for him, but what on earth is he guilty of, other than being in love with a cruel person? You've decided not to meet your boyfriend's parents, and instead are going to the Alps because it sounds more appealing. What impression is that going to make when you meet them? I hope OP has an ex-boyfriend now. When I, 23 female, was 10 years old, my parents divorced. My dad was so mean in how he spoke to my mom. He always made her do all the housework and difficult parenting, but would swoop in to be the fun parent and apologize to my siblings and me for her behavior. If I'm honest, I believed everything he said about my mom for a while, and I hated her for years. I still feel so guilty about it too. My dad's friend was my mother's boss at the time of their separation. I don't know if my dad got my mom fired, but I assume he did because she lost her job the day after she left him. He made more money than she did. His name was on the house, and he knew she didn't have any resources to dispute him in court for very long, so he drew the process out for as long as possible until my mom ended up homeless and living in her car. She lost custody of all three of us and had to move to another state to stay with her sister because she couldn't find work without an address. He cut her off from us, and we didn't talk for years. As soon as my mom was gone, my dad began treating me the way he had treated her. It was a total switch from the man I'd grown up with, and suddenly it was like he hated me. It took that 180-degree turn for me to realize what had happened between him and my mom. I pieced together everything over the next few years and went through some documents from the divorce that confirmed what I suspected. By the time I was 16, I had started saving money to move out as soon as possible, and at midnight on my 18th, I took my things and left. I later reconnected with my mom too. I've done pretty well for myself after leaving. I have a job, an apartment, and a baby. I'm happy with my life. My sister contacted me a few days ago. She just turned 18, and she wanted to see me. We met at a park and talked for a while. When she asked why I left, I tried to lie and come up with better answers, but she kept pressing, so I told her the truth. All of it, not sparing the details. She didn't respond well to it. She told me our dad would have never done those things, that our mom was the problem. She said she didn't believe me about any of it, storming off. I told our mom what happened, and she said I shouldn't have told my sister. She thinks it wasn't fair of me to shatter her reality like that because she's just a kid, and our dad is still her hero. I know what it's like to have that reality-shattering moment, and it sucks. But I mean, she asked for the truth. Was I wrong to give it to her? Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She insisted that you tell her the real reason why you left. She's technically an adult. She should have expected the answer to be unpleasant, because why would you have left the minute you could otherwise? From what I understand, my dad told her and my younger brother that he and I disagreed about something, and the whole thing was just a big misunderstanding. So she wasn't expecting my actual answer. So she believed an 18-year-old would leave home because of a simple misunderstanding? Why would her dad, who she thinks is a hero, allow a simple misunderstanding to permanently damage his relationship with his daughter? He's incredibly manipulative. As long as you said factual things you could share, you did nothing wrong. Your mother's wrong, but not an idiot. I imagine what she went through is traumatic and probably colors how you should handle things. By the way, I understand and appreciate why you feel guilty for believing your father. However, you're an actual kid being manipulated by your father. That doesn't make things better for how your mother might feel, but it wasn't your fault. Also, your dad was abusive to your mom and later became abusive toward you. So even though your sister may not have had it as hard as you have, it's best for her to be warned about her father's abusive personality in case he eventually decides to turn against her. How is your mom doing? My gosh, I hope she's more than all right, same as you. She's doing great. She went back to school and got a degree, and now she's got a really good paying job and a house that she owns. I'm so proud of her. He took everything from her, and despite that, she still managed to survive and thrive years later. I'm in awe of how strong she is, honestly. Just to be upfront, I don't like my mother-in-law at all. We do not get along with each other. We don't argue and are usually civil, but we don't have any depth in our relationship. So I'm not sure if I was just being a petty idiot or not. It was my husband's birthday yesterday, and I organized a birthday dinner for him with his family and his closest friends at a restaurant. I wrote in the greeting card that I would be bringing the cake and had ordered some balloons to decorate the table, which my husband's best friend would take to the restaurant. Everyone saw these messages. The dinner was a surprise. He thought the two of us were having a quiet dinner. I knew I needed to pick up the cake, so I told him I had errands to run and I would meet him there. Anyway, I get to the restaurant a few minutes before my husband arrives and ask the maitre d' to put the cake in the kitchen fridge until we're ready for it. Then he tells me that my mother-in-law has brought an ice cream cake, which is so stupid since my husband has allergies, and told them that it was our party's cake. I told him I made the reservation and to serve my cake and give the other one back to mother-in-law later. Husband arrived, we all had a lovely dinner, and he loved the cake I bought for him when it was served, though mother-in-law was glaring daggers at me. After we left, she's been texting me, calling me a sneaky cow, and threatening to tell my husband that I purposely excluded her contribution. She will probably call him at work later and exaggerate what happened, so before then, I want to know if I'm the idiot. After all, we could have just served both cakes. You sneaky cow? LOL, what? You sound like a thoughtful and well-communicating wife to me. If she wants to ruin your husband's memory of his birthday, she's incredibly selfish. Let her tell your husband you already arranged the cake and that she still tried to serve a cake he couldn't eat because of allergies. You're not the idiot. You're also not petty or a sneaky cow. Mother-in-law sounds like she is, though. Funny, though, how she called you sneaky when she's the one who snuck a cake into the restaurant. If it were me, I would text her back and tell her, go ahead and tell him. Should I show him all the threads where I told you the cake was covered, and then you called me names, and see if she still wants to tell him what happened? If I were being paranoid, I'd say mother-in-law snuck the cake in so that if and when OP's husband had an allergic reaction, she could swoop in and say, what an awful wife, bringing a cake he can't eat. Look at these messages where she takes responsibility for arranging it. How terrible. With a mother-in-law like that, how could you not be paranoid? That was my thought as well. One would hope she knew her son had allergies. She was hoping you would just serve her cake and then take the blame for the allergic reaction. Get out in front of this.